I'm Kara O'Donnell, host of County Board Wrap-Up, our monthly deep dive into the recent actions by the County Board with County Board Chair Libby Garvey and, of course, one of her fellow board members. This month, in addition to our chair, we are joined by Arlington's newest County Board member, Kaikiskar Antonis, who was sworn in earlier this month after winning the special election that was called to fill the seat of board member Eric Gutschall, who passed in April. Takis, welcome to the board and welcome to County Board Wrap-Up.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That's my very first time. In my first week almost, yeah.
It's
I
very
was gonna
boring
say.
time for you,
First
Taki.
8 days.
There's nothing going on these days.
Right. It's
Absolutely.
nice and slow. You'll be able to ease your way into it. But Takis, let's start off just kind of giving us a little bit about you. Tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and what led you to run for this county board seat and a little bit about your background.
So my name is Kaikiskar Antonis. So if that sounds Greek to you, now you know it is. So I'm born in Greece. I left that country when I was 16 years old. I've been an immigrant the rest of my life. I came to the United States about just a couple of years before the turn of the century. Initially in Houston, I met my wife, Lida. We got married. We went then on to Tennessee, and then we landed here in the Washington, D.C. area and in Arlington about the late 2006. So I'm an economist by training and by passion. I've been also a planner. I love local government and municipal politics and policy. Arlington was a very welcoming place for me and for my wife. So we got engaged very, very, very early in Arlington civic life. This was a very welcoming place, and really a place that welcomes a stranger in all possible dimensions of this phrase. So I enjoyed working for a very, very long time. This is where I got to meet Eric Gutschall, with whom we were very good friends. And I'm talking today from his office, basically. So this was a tragic few months at the beginning of the year, a shocking evolution, a shocking turn of events. So I lost a very dear friend. That gets to me still. It's a very emotional thing. And that was at the beginning of deciding to run for his seat and to end his term. We had very many things in common, starting with a very strong commitment in listening, bringing a new level of listening in Arlington, listening to everybody, and wanting to transform Arlington in a place that really engages all Arlingtonians without exception. It's easier said than done. I understand that. And my colleagues on this county board and previous board members have tried very, very hard to advance that holistic idea of Arlington. And I hope to do my part and contribute my part to this. So that's a very short description of how we came to be here today.
Well, I know, Takis, that when you and I first met, you were working with the Columbia Pike Revitalization Organization. But now, as you step into this role on the county board, what are some of your priorities as you step into Eric's shoes, as you mentioned, and ride out his term? What are some of the priorities that you have on your docket?
So the very first priority right now is the priority that affects all Arlingtonians every day, every single moment. That affects you and Madam Chair and me and everybody who's looking right now. This is how we get out of COVID, out of the COVID crisis, how we keep our community whole, how we make sure that we attend the needs of our most vulnerable citizens, those who still have issues with, who are on food assistance, who are on housing assistance, who have issues with health and with employment. All these things are really the very first priority. This is the absolute decision horizon right now. And then, of course, we have the bread and butter and very specific policies. We talk about housing. This is one of my very high priorities, transportation, about the environment in Arlington. These are real priorities, but COVID comes first, and COVID is what right now takes all the oxygen and all the energy of the board.
Okay, well, let's dive right in. I know July was your very first board meeting on day 3 of the job, I believe. So nothing like diving right into the deep end of the pool. And of course, one of the most important actions the board takes is the adoption of the capital improvement plan, which is usually done every 10 years and then updated every 2 years in, so-called normal times. But of course, 2020 has proven to be anything but normal. And the financial uncertainties caused by the COVID pandemic urged the county manager to this year propose a 1-year update to the CIP, and then also to propose postponing and canceling some of the previously approved projects as the county continues to assess that economic fallout of the pandemic. So, Libby, I'm going to throw it to you now. You've worked on a lot of CIPs and CIP updates over the years, and of course, this one was a little different. What were really the priority measures for this year's CIP?
Yeah, this one was very different, because as you said, usually you plan out 10 years. For a while, they used to be 6, but now it's 10 years planning. But as you say, it's the first 2 years what we vote on. That's what goes on the bond, and that's really the what doesn't change much. But this time, the manager proposed, and I think he did exactly the right thing. It's just really for a year. We're going to update it next year when we have a better idea of what's going on. So for this year's CIP, we're just doing what really we have to do. One, we have ongoing obligations to Metro and things. Those are legal obligations. We have to fulfill those. That's there. We have projects ongoing. They're already paid for. They've been bonded. The money is given. The construction started. They're ongoing. Those will continue on, like Lover Run and Long Ridge Pool, the aquatic center. However, those facilities, when they're open, we're not going to actually open them. We're not going to do a grand opening and start using them. We're not going to completely mothball them, because you can't open a building and then just shut it down. You have to keep the systems running to keep it healthy. But we're not going to staff it with people, because that is an expense that we really just don't want to take right now. And the one area where there are really 2 areas that are somewhat new. One, a very small portion of the CIP, was to make sure that we can implement our body-worn camera system right away, so that is up and running. And then the other is the stormwater issue. And you and I have talked a lot about that July 8th storm and everything. We still hear from people. I will tell you, we had a big storm just last night before we were filming this morning. And, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I hope it doesn't rain too much. I hope, everything holds on. So that's something that we know we have to deal with. And I think our staff's doing a very good job. They're prioritizing, but it's a big expense, and it's something we've got to start doing. So that we are continuing to do and starting to do with new ways of enlarging the pipes, looking at what they call overland relief and things. So there we are. We're going to revisit it again in a year, and hopefully after that, then get on to a regular sort of cycle that we've been doing with a 10-year plan and 2-year updates. But right now it's year by year, which I think is how we're taking it. As Taka said, we're all focusing on the same, how we're going to get through this pandemic, and we need to keep as much flexibility as possible with our resources right now to handle what comes up.
Well, and on that note, do you think the county may have to postpone or cancel more CIP projects when we revisit this again next year because of ongoing economic impact from the pandemic? I mean, have we seemed to stabilize a little bit? What's kind of, if you could look into a crystal ball, what would you say to that?
My crystal ball is very murky. I don't know about yours, Takas.
My crystal ball is also very murky. Yeah. But there is a significant signal out of the short the short horizon for these decisions on that the county board recognizes that people come first. We are monitoring how people are doing. I can assure you, and it's a great experience for me coming to the county board. Every day we hear from county staff with details, with data, how our most vulnerable Arlingtonians are doing, where the employment is, where the small businesses, how the small businesses are doing, how effective the housing assistance is, how effective, how well we are covering the needs right now, and if we identify gaps, where are these gaps, and what are the best ways to really respond to them. This is a very complex place. It's a very unusual place, and I believe that right now a lot of energy is invested in doing the best job possible. That means that the capital investment will have to be treated with caution at this moment.
Yeah. I think the other thing to think about too with the capital investment is the buildings that we were planning to build and the facilities are all based on pre-COVID. 6-foot distancing, social distancing wasn't a thing a few months ago. So it could be, as we look forward, that we will be changing what we're doing and where our priorities are. But I'm not sure what they are yet, and that's why we're waiting and taking some time to look. So sorry, I've got a murky crystal ball. When it clears up, I'll let you know.
All right. Well, we'll keep you posted on that one.
Yeah, all together in this, so everybody will know. Right.
Right.
That's right. Well, with that, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll take a look at some COVID-19 relief funding that the board approved that could be a big help to Arlington renters and homeowners hit hard by the pandemic. Stay with us. Welcome back to County Board Wrap Up, our look at the actions the County Board takes at its monthly board meeting and how those actions affect you, your family, and our whole community. Joining me today are board member Libby Garvey, as well as Kaikiskar Antonis, who was sworn in as Arlington's newest board member earlier this month. Now, the board approved at the meeting the acceptance of some more state and federal COVID-19 relief funding, the largest amount being $450,000 from the state to specifically help renters and homeowners who may have lost their income as a result of the pandemic. How will this funding help those individuals?
Well, we're actually providing rent assistance. I mean, paying people's rents, and we have to. We're also supporting our nonprofits, such as Thrive, that provides the rental assistance. Our nonprofits are really stretched. It is amazing how they are stepping up. But where we're looking at needing to provide food assistance, rent assistance, and healthcare, we're getting into the whole need to be doing COVID testing. So there are a lot of needs there. It's great to get this. I think it's always a little odd to realize, and Takas, you're probably not as surprised, but we have to vote to accept money, Of course we'll accept it. Those are easy votes. But what they do is a lot of times, and we were lucky because we had funds that we could use so that when this hit suddenly, we had money that we could start helping people with, but those fund balances got just about drained. And then finally, some of the federal assistance comes in. So what we're doing is then filling up those funds again so that we can use them, which is very helpful because I think moving forward we'll continue, I think, to get, there should be some more federal help. There'll be more state help, but it just takes a while. And sometimes that doesn't have the flexibility we need to make sure that, because when somebody, needs to get some food on the table now, or needs a rent assistance now, or needs a COVID test now, you can't say, well, let me fill out these forms and we'll get back to you in 6 weeks. That doesn't work. We've got to be able to have the flexibility. So it really is helpful. We had the funds to kind of start it, and this just kind of helps backfill and give us the flexibility we need. It's certainly a lot of need that's going to be ongoing for a long time. So whatever we can get is really very welcome.
Well, I was just going to say nobody knows, as you mentioned in our last segment, the crystal ball is a little murky. So we don't know what's going to happen throughout the rest of this year and beyond. Are some of those funds that we were used to kind of deplete our own local reserve, will we then be able to turn around and use those should we need it for future need?
Right. Yeah. No. And my point is we will. So the crystal ball may be murky, but I think people are going to need help with housing and with food and with COVID testing, probably for the next year or more. It's a long-term issue that we've got. We're going to have a lot of needs. And if we're going to get through this together, we need to be supporting our most vulnerable and making us all get through this together, which will make us more resilient as a community and more healthy in the end. But I think the crystal ball may be murky, but we will need money and a lot of it. So, yeah. Good to have.
That's absolutely true. And this is not only important for, for keeping households healthy and helping them cope in this situation. It's also critical for our economy. These are the employees of our small businesses. So we will be trying to put even more emphasis in keeping this very base layer, the bedrock of our economy in Arlington. There is a lot more that we can do, and we will do. The situation every day as it evolves reveals new areas of where we have to pay attention. And what is for me very important is that our nonprofits, our social safety network has actually responded. And I personally didn't, and I've known most of them for quite a while, I didn't expect that they would rise to the task the way they deployed capacity. They are in the field, they're giving us feedback, and they are very good recipients of this money because they do the most out of this. That's really important to stress, to underscore.
Yep. And thank you for bringing up the issue of small businesses, because we had the grant, which we've talked before on this program about the grant program for our small businesses. And we were able at first to award of all of those that qualified, I think we covered about a little over 25%. And now we put in more money and covering more than 50. And, those really are the bedrock of our community. And we need to help keep those small businesses going. So there's Absolutely.
That too. And most importantly, every Arlingtonian should know that wearing their mask is helping us be effective in that. So Absolutely. That's really critical. There is a role for everybody here. In this Absolutely. We are together. This is not just the same.
Well, and where should residents who may suddenly find themselves in that situation where they can't pay their rent, they can't make their mortgage payments, where can they go to look for help?
There's a number to call. There's a number to call. 703-228-1300. 703-228-1300. And there are people there speak English and Spanish, and people should call and work there. Now, sometimes there are issues of getting paperwork done, again, which we have to do. And if people need help with that, they need to just call back. So sometimes we find we call people and they don't answer the phone. That's what I've been told sometimes by our staff, that they're trying to help, but they can't get people to answer the phone.
Get through to people. Yeah. Very important. Yeah. So switching gears a little bit, now the county took some steps this month to respond to community demand for reforms of Arlington County Police Department. Tell me a little bit about the new police working group.
It's really exciting. I'm very excited about it. So we have two outside consultants. Let's see, there's a Marcia Thompson, who is the vice president at Hilliard Heinze, and she's in Chicago, but she has lived here for a long time. And she has done a lot of this work for decades, really, and is really well known nationally for her work. And we also have Dr. Julie Shedd, who is Associate Dean of the newly named Jimmy and Rosalind Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution at our very own George Mason. And they're sort of heading up this group. And then we have, and they're going to be doing research. They're going to be interviewing our police and gathering information from our community. And then there is a citizens group put together of 15 folks, and all of that is up. I won't go through all of the names, but we've got, people from the NAACP, people from the police department, people from the OAR, Offenders Aid and Restoration, Offenders Aid and
and Restoration. Yes.
Thank you. So there are a lot of really good groups that have been working in this space for a long time, and we're going to get them all at the same table. I'm so pleased that the police are included. because our police really have been doing a really good job, but there's some basic questions that I think anybody's looking at now. How much should police be involved in mental health issues? All too often, the people in our jails, the people arrested, they're in mental health crisis. They don't need to be going to jail. They need mental health help. So that there's that issue. There are a lot of really important ones to be looking at. We are going to start, we have said we are starting a Citizens Review Commission, but what exact form that will take, we will let this group advise us on. But it isn't a matter of if we will do such a group, it's a matter of how it will look. So,
Exactly.
you might want to add something.
Just a little important detail that this group will also, form a public process around it. So the way this group will be working and the topics that it will be touching on, they will create a synaptic ability to receive feedback from the community. So this is a really interactive process with the community as well. It's not just the working group and the professionals and the organizations that are represented there. So this is really going into public discussion, and that's a good thing.
Yep.
So really just a very inclusive process all around.
Very inclusive, very thorough, and very forward-looking, very positive. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a model, actually. I'm really delighted we're doing it.
Okay. Now, kind of along the same vein, the manager also appointed Samia Bird as our new Chief Equity Officer for the county. Now, what does the board see as her primary responsibility in this new role?
Pulling it all together, I think. So one of the concerns when you approach this kind of work, and I had it in the school system too, is sometimes you get somebody and that's their job, and then none of us have to work on it, right? And this has to be totally infused in the whole organization. So Ms. Bird's, job is not to do it. She's to make sure everybody else is getting the support and doing what they need to do the work and have the conversations that need to be held. And she's already headed up the internal group with staff that have been working on this since January and done just an excellent job. She's absolutely devoted to it. She certainly knows the county system really well, the organization. So I'm just delighted that she's doing this. She's, I think, going to do a great job. But again, it's not like you assign that Ms. Bird's got the issue and then we all forget about it. No. She's going to be working with all of us and make sure it gets infused throughout the whole organization.
Really just make it kind of part of the everyday way of life here in Arlington County.
Exactly. And she used to do building things. One of the examples I've brought up is I had a discussion with one of our employees that works on traffic management and talking about so Arlington View, one of our traditionally African-American communities, and they were asking for some road improvements to make it safe. And our staff person was explaining to me, well, it's way too expensive to do that. You've got a highway here and a road here. And, and I said to her, well, do you know how they got there? And she said, well, no, because she doesn't come from here. I said, well, that's because that's a traditionally African-American or Black community, and they were just walled off and cut off. We did that to them. So, I said, so this board member, I'm willing to spend extra money to help make up for that. And that's part of the whole equity thing. And then it needs to get infused. All of that history she didn't even know,
Wow.
So, it's important. So there are lots of things, and it just pops up in all kinds of interesting ways, which I think Ms. Bird is very well qualified to know and understand and get at. So I'm just delighted.
She's excellent at reading the map correctly, the proverbial and the metaphoric map. And she's excellent also in leading difficult discussions, because this is what we have ahead. We will have some difficult discussions. We'll have to, recognize our past. We'll have to recognize the issues that we have in our present, and we'll have to take tough decisions for how we fix that, for we, rebalance Arlington, how we make it more equitable, more fair in the future. So that's, I'm very excited that she is leading this, and I think that she's very well qualified for that. And she merits the support of everybody for this.
Yes, absolutely. Wish her very much the best. Well, as the county is dealing with the need for police reforms and action to achieve equity and racial justice, it's also attending to those more typical issues that the county board deals with, such as redevelopment, metro improvements, and a proposed ordinance change as well. We'll hear more about those issues when we come right back. Welcome back to County Board Wrap Up. I'm Kara O'Donnell, your host, and I am joined today by Board Chair Libby Garvey, as well as our newest board member, Kaikiskar Antonis, and we're answering questions about the actions the board took at its July meeting. Now, the board took several actions related to WETA, WETA's presence in Shirlington. What can you tell us about the significance of WETA's headquarter expansion in the county? Libby, we'll start with you.
Well, I think it's huge. That's to use an overused word. I mean, WETA started here in the basement of Yorktown High School. Elizabeth Campbell, who I had the pleasure of knowing and spending some time with, it was her concept that television could help children, that should be educational and actually help them. Yeah, no, she
Did not know that.
Big Bird was her concept in many ways. And she spent most of, after being on the school board and helping with integrate our schools, this was kind of her life's work. And first it was there, and then it moved to Shirlington. I got to visit her there a number of times. Sharon Rockefeller is now the CEO and has been there, the head of the board, and kind of running things. And she's been here a long time. I think WETA has felt a real affinity for Arlington, and we've felt something for them. I mean, my brothers and sisters who grew up with WETA, not WETA, but with, Sesame Street, and my own children, if I let WETA leave Arlington, I would never live it down. So it's personal for me. But it really is. It's an anchor for Shirlington. It's such an important part of what we have here. And, they do these wonderful shows that I think are just it just fits with our values. Mm-hmm. It's just, so I am delighted that they're staying. It's been a little bit up and down. And of course, if you're in public television these days, it's, we're all working with the current economic system, but, your public facilities like this have a little bit more problems. So anyway, I think it's big for me. It's a huge thing personally. And I think for the county and for Shirlington, it is a major, just relief that they're there and we're all happy and moving forward. And I can't wait till it actually gets online, because there are going to be some public spaces for people to use, which will be really good.
Right. This includes an expansion for Jenny Dean Park as part of it as well, correct?
Yes. So that won't connect so much. Basically, they have a large recording studio, which once they've built, they can move into that. Then they will move out, and then that actually will get, I believe, turned down and turned into a park. But they're going to have some rooftop areas that people can visit, and I think the view up there should be great. And there'll be a big screen on the street that you can kind of watch what's going on, which would be really good. So they'll be connecting with the community that way as well.
And also really give a voice to Shirlington as a whole, don't you think? I mean, in terms of making kind of that sense of place and helping the economic viability of Shirlington.
Yeah,
absolutely. And 292 people will be the employees that will be supported by the action here. And I mean, you cannot understate how important this move of the old studio into the new studio is, because this makes Jenny Dean Park such a even bigger and nicer project for everybody to enjoy. This is a real gift to Arlington to have this great new park, and at the same time, keep that organization that's so embedded in Arlington. Absolutely. And in Shirlington in particular.
All right. Well, now the board also approved a couple of metro station projects that we've been talking about for quite some time. One in Crystal City, one in Pentagon City. Give us a quick overview of those projects.
Yeah. Well, those are expansions as well. I mean, they're really important. One is improving the stop. The one in Pentagon City. Over in Crystal City, it's actually a whole new entrance, mm-hmm. which will be ADA accessible and be much better for people getting in. And what we did here is we partnered with JBG Smith. They're constructing a building right there. So it's much better we're going to be doing the entrance they're going to be doing it actually at the same time as they do the building. So we're getting a lot of efficiencies that way, which I think are really great and important for that area. I know right now there are not a lot of people riding transit, but long term there will be. People are going to continue to need to come there and continue to need to use transit, and we need to be able to handle all that growth and not put more cars on the street there, but have people coming and going by transit.
Yeah.
One of the things. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to say that Arlington continues to invest in Metro. There is life after COVID. That we will. This is the life. This is the basic network. This is where our economy is built on, and we will continue to invest to our best of our abilities right now. And I'm very, very, proud to say that we can still do that, and we are committed continue doing that.
Yeah. One of the things that we're connecting to that we recently have approved too is the pedestrian bridge to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
So you can come in and get off when you get this new the new entrance done, and be very close to that bridge and walk right across to the airport, which is really.
That's going to be a game changer.
It's a game changer and very cool. Somebody can fly in and walk across and get on a bike and get on the Mount Vernon Trail, ride down, see Mount Vernon, ride back, get their flight out in the evening. I mean, it's really, the connectivity is just great. So
and the airport is a huge part of our economic infrastructure and our economic substance in Arlington. Almost 20 million people, passengers, pre-COVID, of course.
Pre-COVID.
We don't know if we will ever recover that, but it's still a very, very big contributor to our economic, well-being in Arlington. So connecting that is always a good idea.
Yeah.
And one more topic we had, the board voted to advertise for a public hearing in September on banning firearms in county buildings. What brought this action up?
Well, it was state legislation, really. As based, the General Assembly voted to give us the ability to ban guns inside our facilities, and which I think makes all the sense in the world. The fact that somebody could carry a gun into one of our board meetings, into a library, into a park, has always worried me quite a bit. And actually, I think the legislature took away that ability, and now we've got it back again. So I'm, pleased that we've advertised it. We heard from a lot of folks, particularly those who have concealed carry permits, and talking about what guns mean to them. And we've had some good discussions, which I think we will continue to do. One of the issues that came up that I think we will work through is this fear of being entrapped. That some people need to carry a gun. Maybe they actually train people, and they're traveling through and have a weapon with them, and it's concealed, and they end up in a park and they get caught. And that's not at all the purpose of this ordinance at all. So we'll be working through, I think, and trying to reassure them some as we get there into September.
Yes, and I think the county manager said that very well. He said the purpose of this discussion is not to punish people. The purpose of this discussion is to make Arlington safer for everybody. So that continues to be the purpose of this conversation. And we will be having a very robust conversation in the next month, or actually two, because this will come for a vote in the September meeting.
Yeah. The interesting thing, two views is just there are these two views of public safety. Some people think public safety, they need to be responsible for their own public safety, and they need to carry a gun at all times to protect themselves and their loved ones wherever they are. And some of us believe that actually our public safety personnel should be providing public safety, that's a government service that we provide, and we don't really want everybody carrying a gun around to protect themselves. So, well, it's two very different views of public safety. So,
all right. Well, we will wait to hear on the debate on that as well. With that, that'll bring us to the end of another county board wrap up. Libby, Takis, thank you very much for joining us today. Takis, thank you for your maiden voyage here on county board wrap up. And of course, we will see you again soon. Now, the board will be taking a break in August, at least won't be having an official board meeting, so we will be taking a break as well. And we will see you again in September for another look at the actions the board takes that affect you, your family, and our community. I'm Kara O'Donnell, and until then, we thank you for joining us. We hope you and your family stay safe and healthy, and that you have a good rest of your summer.